Welcome back, S'mores. Today we've got a very spooky, mysterious, and dark episode for you. For today, we are traveling to the most scariest place of all places, Miami. Is it Miami?
Key West, but
Key West.
close.
Close enough. That part of Florida is scary.
Yeah, we can. I have a friend in Miami, so I'm gonna have to send her the first part of this to let her know we made fun of Miami.
Hey, Miami, truly scary place. You ever been down there on spring break? Me neither.
I have, and it was interesting. So
Yep. You see a lot of people not wearing the right type of clothing.
I was about to say, I was like, I've never seen like so many nearly naked people in my life, but I was just like, oh, this is bad. I don't want to be here anymore.
Sahil was like, if I wasn't a Christian man, this would be heaven.
Hey man, I had to do some of these and say, Lord, help me to not lust. So
All these succubuses around,
oh man, gosh,
sirens in the sea.
oh boy. Alrighty, so Key West, Florida.
Yep.
Scary, very scary thing there, which is what we're talking about today.
It is.
So some of you guys I think already know about this, but today's topic is Robert the Doll.
Ooh.
Robert the Doll. So if you don't know what that is, we're about to tell you. If you do know
I
what
want
that
to go ahead.
is, go in and get excited.
I want to go ahead and say, okay. Let's see. Is this the right one? Sorry, I'm trying. I forgot. I got to send you the ChatGPT story, and I was just thinking about that because I was actually going to talk about it because technically speaking, Steven and I, this is our second time doing this episode.
It is, yeah. And I actually do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because this is our second attempt at trying to make this episode. Something happened the first time.
Yes. So as I was stating, me and Steven, we tried to film this episode, which, by the way, I forgot I got to do something. We have Patreon. And if you want to see the unused footage of Steven and I messing around with our audio equipment and everything, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get it fixed, you should go follow there. We actually have somebody on our Patreon who is actually using our Patreon currently. And as we stated, we give them a shout out. So I should have been better prepared. Oops. Anyways, shout out to Steven. You saw the first name. Do you know how to pronounce it?
Yeah, I'm gonna say okay, I'm gonna say a shout out to Namrata. That's not the name that's on there, but I think that's the name he actually goes by. So yeah, she is our very first Patreon subscriber. So
Thank you.
Namrata Tech, thank you for joining the Patreon. And I actually think she already knows about Robert Dadal. She said Robert Dadal is awesome. So you'll get to seems like you already know who Robert Dadal is, but you'll get to hear us, the cowboy and the Indian, talk about him. So
yeah,
there we go.
So as we stated, we tried to film this episode in person because, as you know, we had Captain Kidd and Flana Isles. Past two episodes, they were filmed in person. And what happens is, like, Steve and I usually film on StreamYard, but if we can, we try to film in person if we can. And when we do film in person, we like film as back to back as we can to try to get as many episodes out as we can. And Robert the Doll was one of those episodes we were trying to get done. And let me tell you guys, I'm going to go ahead and apologize because this episode hopefully will be as good, but the footage we had from that last episode, that one was pure, like the best we could have been. And unfortunately, we cannot use that footage because the camera died. And then the audio wouldn't work properly. And it was very much a spooky time. And was it that the camera battery was actually dying, or was Robert the Doll messing with us? I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get through this episode without any incidents.
I know, right?
But yeah, originally we were in person, and yeah, as Will was saying, camera wasn't working. I know there was other explanations for it, but I mean, at certain points, it was like really quiet in the barnyard, and then we would just hear noises like things moving around, like kind of like tapping or something in the attic.
Yeah,
Or
and it was
me.
we think it could have been a bird, but it just, like, the whole atmosphere. Like, imagine being in a barn, a creepy old barn with nothing but a work light. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you just hear these like little sounds around the room as you're talking about this little creepy ass doll. Yeah, it really gets you in the mood.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, I think we'll release the footage of that. You said we'd release the footage of that on Patreon. So, if you want
Yeah,
to see the footage of me and Will in a dark barn at what was it, 2, 3 a.m. at night,
3 a.m.
3 a.m. trying to film the Robert the Doll episode and it not working and us freaking out. Yeah, sign up for our Patreon. I think the lowest tier is $1, right?
Mhm.
And then
But that won't get you the Robert the Doll episode. If you want the
uh,
Robert the Doll episode, that's
want to get
3.
if you want to get the special episodes, it's $3 a month. So, yeah,
We have a secret tier that's not going to be released for a little while, but look forward to that.
yeah, that will be upcoming at some point. So, but yeah, if you want that special episode of me and Will unsuccessfully recording Robert the Doll and being scared out of our minds at 3 a.m. trying to record that episode in the barnyard, you know what to do. So, but yeah, let's get into it. So, Beyond the Campfire, Robert the Doll. What is Robert the Doll? Or who is Robert the Doll? I'm going to say what, but. Okay, so Robert the Doll is a fabric stuffed doll that is life size and is said to be haunted. He is a brown stitched boy with beady black eyes, wearing a sailor suit and carrying a stuffed dog with him. And he is currently on display in Key West, Florida. So if you actually wanted to go visit Robert the Doll today, you could just drive down or fly down to East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, and you can get an upfront view of Robert the Doll. Now, maybe you don't want to, and I will explain why, because we're going to get into the lore of Robert the Doll. But let's get into it. So, Robert was not always in Key West, Florida. He was not always on display in the museum there. In fact, Robert's story starts in 1904, 121 years ago. This is a very old doll. He's been around for a while. So in 1904, the German company, the Steiff Company, created Robert the Doll. This is the same company that created the teddy bear, which was named after Theodore Roosevelt. So, some fun U.S. history there. But
Yeah.
what happens is this grandfather, he sees the doll in Germany, and he's like, "Hey, this would be a great doll for my grandson." So he purchases the doll in Germany, and he takes it back to the U.S. Now, this next story, we're not 100% sure if it is true, but if this story is true, this might explain why Robert the Doll is well, let's just say he's not like other dolls. Just like I'm not other guys, single ladies out there. Nah, I'm kidding.
Hey, listen, this is a business. Okay, I will report you to HR.
There you go. You have pick me girls, and then you have pick me guys. So
And Steven is one of them.
okay, all right. So anyway, so Robert the Doll. Here's why he's not like other dolls. So apparently, the grandfather, while on his way to the U.S. to give this doll to his grandson, stops by in the Bahamas. Talks to some locals.
Bahama Mamas.
Bahama Mamas. Although this one individual he talked to was not a Bahama Mama, but was a young girl who was apparently a witch doctor, even though she was like 12. But he apparently makes her angry and upset in some way. And according to legend, this 12-year-old Bohemian girl curses the doll.
Oh.
Curse on the doll, and grandpappy decides to keep the doll and take it with him and give it to his grandson. So again, we're not 100% sure if that story is true, but if it is, this would explain how Robert the Doll became haunted, because I don't think the Steiff Company in Germany was saying incantations on their dolls. At least I would hope not. So
yeah, it's not like that Futurama episode.
Futurama episode? Which one?
So it was like the Where car, and so it was like in 2019. like this car company decided to make the most evil car. So they took like the steering wheel from like Hitler's car and, like a tire or something from like, Ted Bundy's Volkswagen and stuffed it all together and make the most evil car.
Okay, gotcha. I don't watch Futurama, but maybe I'll watch that episode. Who knows?
I started watching it and I'm enjoying it.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, so Robert Dahl arrives in the U.S.
Uh-oh.
He is given to. All right, it's going to get a little bit confusing, but I'll explain it in just a second. He is given to the grandson, whose name is Robert Eugene Otto.
Okay.
All right. So Robert Eugene Otto, the grandson, decides to name the doll after himself, and hence we get the name Robert the Doll. Now,
Bingo.
This grandson is very important. We're going to be bringing up his name a lot. So just so that we don't get confused, I'm not going to call Robert Eugene Otto Robert. I'm going to call him Otto. All right. We're going to call him Otto. So that way we don't get confused between Robert Eugene Otto and Robert the Doll. Okay. So Otto, the grandson, gets this doll, and he absolutely loves this thing. And I mean, I think we all loved toys when we were little, but it was almost creepy how much Otto loved this doll. He took it with him everywhere he went. He slept with this doll in his bed. He tried to feed it. He would have very, very long conversations with Otto, and yeah, I mean, it was just a little bit creepy. It's not for a kid to take their stuffed animal with them everywhere it went. But I don't know. When you have a doll the size of Robert, and him just looking kind of creepy as he does, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
So, Will, thoughts before I get into because the weirdness doesn't end there. Things get creepy very fast. But thoughts so far?
I mean, a little. I mean, besides the whole when you're like, oh, he took this thing everywhere with him. He snuggled with it in bed and did this. It's kind of like, what? That sounds like a normal child behavior, when you got this favorite toy, but then you're like, he starts talking to it and feeding it. And I'm like, this isn't one of them baby dolls that, like the baby dolls where you can feed them and they actually poop. This isn't one of those. This is like a teddy bear. And I'm like, that's a little strange.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll grow out of it.
So, by the way, it gets weird when Otto at some point becomes an adult and he still carries the doll with him. So we'll get to that we'll get into that in just a second. But okay, so things start to happen. Dishes start to break. Things start to be thrown around on the floor, and on its own that's not really unusual stuff. But the parents are like, Otto, dude, why are you breaking dishes? Why are you like throwing prized possessions on the ground? And Otto says, it wasn't me, Mom and Dad. It was Robert. And they're like, okay. They're like, Otto, obviously it was you. Robert is a doll. He's not going to be breaking dishes and throwing things around, right? So it's like, okay, whatever. Here things start to get a little bit spooky. So one night, the parents hear screaming from Otto's room, and they hear loud objects being thrown around. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's an intruder. Let's go save our son. So the parents run on over. They open the door. All of a sudden, everything stops. But what they see is heavy furniture thrown around, so heavy that Otto could not have moved it on his own. And they see things broken, and they see Robert sitting peacefully at the end of Otto's bed. They see Otto shaking in the corner. They go up to Otto and they're like, Otto, what happened? Otto shakes a pointed finger at Robert and says, Mom and Dad, Robert did it. Quick thoughts?
You know what? Listen, at first I'm like, oh, he broke a plate and just doesn't want to be punished. Okay, whatever. And then you're not only is it like Your parents wake up, but it's so loud. It's like an intruder's breaking in the house. Heavy furniture's being thrown. If I was the mom and dad, I would have taken that doll and I would have taken it to Goodwill. Somebody else's problem. Get rid of the damn thing.
I know, right? So at this point, the parents start to get a little bit concerned now, right? Because now it's just like, wait, our son could not have done this on his own. They're like, something weird's going on. Here, things start to get weirder. Robert, or Otto rather, Otto does not start to want to get rid of Robert, but he actually gets even closer to Robert. He becomes even more inseparable. You know, people try to take Robert from him. He's like, no. He's like, no, no, no. Robert's my friend. You can't take him away from me. Robert's parent, or Otto's parents sometimes would walk by Robert's room and they would hear Otto talking, but then they would also hear another voice, a voice they had never heard before. They would run into the room and they would see Otto and Robert sitting there. And they would be like, Otto, who are you talking to? And Otto would shrug his shoulders and point to Robert. What happens is Otto did have to leave Robert sometimes. So Otto would leave Robert in the attic and he would go to school. Here's where it gets even weirder. Children would pass by the house and they would look up and they would see Robert the doll looking down at them. The kids would look away. They would look up again.
Nope.
Robert is no longer at the window.
Nope.
Robert was appearing and disappearing and reappearing at the window. And this started to freak the neighborhood children out. Some of the neighborhood children even reported that Robert's beady eyes would move and follow them as they walked across the street.
You know what?
Strange behavior.
I need to keep me like at my desk for these episodes a little red flag. So when you start saying this stuff, I could just red flag. Because I mean, like okay.
This is what I have. I'm like, be gone, demons.
First off, the parents. I just want to say, you know, as a new parent, you know, if my sons had this creepy ass doll, first off, you know, it's one of those gifts, like, you know, where like the parents get it or the grandparents get it. They're like, we got this little doll for little boy. And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. You never give it to the kid. You shove it in the closet and forget about it. But on top of that, okay, first off, you had the whole throwing crap around the room. At that point, I would have gotten rid of the damn thing. I would have taken it to either the dump or I would have stuck it in Goodwill and said, good luck to the next person, you know? But then, like, okay, the parents keep the doll, you know, and then, like, because Robert's attached to the darn thing, or Otto's attached to Robert, and it's like, Robert's my friend. Okay, but then walking back and forth, and you hear, like, them whispering to each other. It's like, all right, have a good day at school, son. Your doll will definitely be here when you get back. Mom, Dad, where's my doll? Oh, he said, screw you. He's going to New York to run for Broadway.
Yeah, no, it's definitely bizarre behavior for sure. But yeah, let's continue. So eventually the parents get sick of it. They're like, hey, there's something freaky. They're like, son, you got to leave Robert in the attic when you sleep. Okay, he can't be in the same room with you. So Otto, he's mad, he cries, but you know, you got to listen to your parents.
Yeah.
Robert doesn't like this. Robert does not like being put in the attic. What happens now is eventually the parents will go to sleep. And what happened is they started to hear footsteps running up in the attic. They also started to hear giggling, the sound of children giggling up in the attic. A couple of times they would open their door and they said they saw what seemed to be Robert running up the stairs back into the attic.
No.
But yeah, whenever they would go and check, furniture would be moved, things would be thrown around, and it's just like, wow, Robert is not happy at being placed up in the attic.
Well, hey, listen, I mean, to be fair, I don't think Anne Frank liked it either, so.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And
He
Otto,
didn't like the attic either. I mean, come on, it's an attic. Who likes the attic?
yeah, no, for sure. So, you know, the parents kind of just deal with this because Otto absolutely would not let them throw the stall out. Otto wanted to keep the stall. He did not want it to be destroyed. And so, Robert kind of just did his thing for all these years.
That's why you say to your child, okay, go to school. And then when they're at school, you get rid of the damn thing. And then when the
Yeah,
child asks, I mean, because obviously this thing is obviously alive. Okay. And Otto is none the wiser if you just said, oh, he decided to be a Hollywood actor or he moved to Nashville to be a country singer, like he's not going to have a clue. Just get rid of it.
right, right. Okay, let's fast forward. Otto eventually grows up. He becomes a man.
All right.
He goes to art school, becomes a painter. He
All
goes to
right.
meets a beautiful woman, falls in love.
Hey,
They get married.
hey,
Back to the U.S., move to their own home, and they're bringing all these things to their home. They're getting the furniture set up,
way to go.
and Otto's wife, she's getting things together, and Otto's like, "Hey, honey, there's something I really, really want to bring with me. In fact, I need to bring it with me." And Will, I think you can already guess where this is going. And Otto's wife is like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, honey. What do you want to bring to our home?" And adult Robert Eugene Otto says, "Honey, we're bringing Robert Duvall with us." Thoughts?
Robert or Otto, this just don't match the feng shui of the room. Don't match the feng shui of the room. What are we gonna do with this creepy dog? Listen. I heard the stories. That's what I want to know is did she hear about all this from like his parents? Like their parents pulled her aside at the wedding. Hey, by the way, he's got this creepy doll he used to like as a kid. Okay, let me tell you that thing does some weird stuff.
So from the stories I've looked up, I haven't heard any indication that his wife knew about those stories about the doll. But here's what happened. So Otto wanted the doll to sleep in bed with them. Uh,
Let me
Otto's
guess.
wife. Go ahead.
They got a little cuck chair for him in the corner.
So Otto's wife is like, no, absolutely not. But she's like, okay, if you really want this doll in the house, we can make a room for him up in the attic. Sound familiar?
Again with the addicts.
Sound familiar? So
Yeah.
they take him to the attic, and I think you can guess where this goes. Similar things start to happen that happened when Otto was a child.
Uh.
So Otto's wife starts to experience the same thing that Otto's parents experienced. She
Yep.
starts to hear footsteps and running in the attic. She starts
I
to
don't like
hear
that.
the laughing of giggling children.
I don't like that.
She would run up into the attic, and things would be thrown around. Robert had moved around. He'd be at one end of the room where she placed him. She'd come back to the attic a few hours later. Robert is now in a different part of the room. Children in that neighborhood said they would look in the window. Same thing. They saw Robert watching them with his beady eyes. They said they'd look up at the window. 1 second he's there. They'd look up at the window again. All of a sudden he's not there. Here's where it gets a little bit more wilder. Guests would come to visit Otto and his wife. They would stay in the guest room. They would report hearing some of the same things, and sometimes even a few of them woke up in horror to Robert the doll sitting at the foot of their bed in the
Honey,
guest.
pack it up. We're going to the Hamptons. We're going to the Holiday Inn down the road. We ain't staying here.
So, Otto's wife insists for years to get rid of this thing. Otto's like, nope, honey, Robert stays, okay? You already said no to him being in bed with us. Fine, I can listen to that. But Robert is not leaving this house. He's staying in the attic.
Let's get this guy checked out for a psychiatric problem.
Yeah. So yeah, we have two incidents, two different neighbors, and this is where I start to believe the story a little bit because I'm a little bit more skeptical. But multiple reports from people close to Otto's life, from neighborhood children for decades. I'm just like, okay, there's something weird. There's something weird going on here. Something happening with
Well,
it. So I don't know.
I like this.
All right, here's how Robert ends up in the museum. In 1974, Otto, now an old man, he dies.
No.
A new person buys a house, a lady. She buys the house and she decides to keep Robert. She starts to experience the same things. She hears footsteps in the attic. Things are thrown around. Robert is moving locations.
Oh.
Sometimes she would open her bedroom door and she would claim that she would see Robert running up the steps back up to the attic. She doesn't get rid of Robert for about 20 years. So for about 20 years, she kind of just deals with Robert, the doll, being in the house.
Robert.
So she kind of gets sick of it. She's like, okay, this is weird. This is creepy. I'm going to donate Robert the doll to a museum in Key West, Florida, East Martello Museum. So in 1994, Robert the doll arrives in Key West, Florida to a museum. What do you think happens, Will?
Well, first off, I just want to say this lady keeping Robert the doll for 20 years, Otto bringing him back. All right. I think that Robert the doll is a true girly. Gatekeep, girl boss, gaslight. He's been doing it for a while. He's been making sure then people like keep him around. Oh, what are you talking about? You know, he's a true girly.
Something keeps these people attached to Robert the doll. I can't.
It's because he can gaslight, girl boss, and gatekeep.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that one ex that you're low key kind of still in love with, and you keep insisting you're gonna get them out of your life, but you never do. Of course, you wouldn't know about that.
No, are you speaking from experience though?
No, definitely not.
Mm-hmm. Is this why we hired? Is this why we hired Haley?
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't know.
Kidding.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't know about that, but I do have friends where I'm like, dude, why do you keep staying stuck on this ex? So anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So he's in the museum. The lady warns them, hey, this doll is haunted. Museum staff kind of just laugh and they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. The security guards watching the museum, we're getting a little night at the museum, things coming alive, things being thrown around kind of vibe, you know what I mean? Night at the museum stuff, right? So
although I think that would be very much nicer than this crap.
Yeah, the security guards at night start to realize, they're like, wait a second. Robert was in his display case. Now he's not. Where the heck is he? They would search. They'd go through the dinosaur section. They'd go through the, World War II airplane section. And they're like, where the heck is Robert the doll? And they're like, why is Robert sitting on the top of this T-Rex? Wait a second. Why is Robert the doll sitting inside this World War II airplane?
Why is Robert the doll hanging out with a cowboy and a centurion?
Right, yeah.
Why is he with the Mongolians?
Right. So he's just moving around. He's doing things, and the security guards are like, "Oh shoot!" You know how they often found him though?
Huh?
They said they would hear the sounds of children giggling, and they would follow the sounds, and it would lead them to Robert the doll.
You want to know? I'm going to share you an interesting fact, Steven.
What's that?
Okay. Do you want to know what type of ghost demons usually act as?
Is it children?
It's children, because it's to lure people into a false sense of hope. Because if a demon starts talking to you as like an adult, you're just gonna be like, screw off, man. But if it's talking to you as a child, you'll be more inviting to it.
Wow, that's really freaky. Oh man, wow. All right.
So now, whenever you hear
I better not follow this children in the future.
I know. So now the question to ask, okay, would you rather hear a demon growl or would you rather hear a demon laugh as a little child?
I think I'd rather take the demon growl, man. I think I'd rather.
Hey, I'm telling you.
So, but okay, let's continue. We're almost wrapped up, I promise, guys. All right, we're almost there. But so, this goes on for a few years and the museum's like, okay, you know what? Let's be kind to Robert. So they start to give, candy and sweets to him. Yeah, start to talk to him sweetly, and they're like, "Hey, Robert, we're here for you, man. We love you, buddy. We're here for you." After that, Robert stopped moving around. Incidents of him doing stuff started to cease, and now Robert kind of just sits peacefully in his display case.
What
if? And there though, although real quick, Will, some quick thoughts.
Well, what if it's not actually a demon? What if it's just a poor little child that died of the plague, and he now hunts the little doll, and all he wanted was friends?
One can only guess, right?
That's the happy ending we want. In
That's that.
reality,
We don't get a
he's
happy
probably
ending,
demon possessed.
do we?
No, he's probably demon possessed at this point.
All right, so here we go. The museum staff's nice for Robert. So, Robert's not terrorizing the museum staff at night anymore.
Nah.
He is still doing some terrorizing, though. So,
Oh, God.
people can come up and they can see Robert, they can talk to him. Occasionally, some of these guests come up to Robert, and whether they're trying to be funny or whether they're trying to test him, uh, they're disrespectful, right? They're like, "Oh, Robert, you ugly little boy," or like, "Oh, Robert, you think you're all that, huh? What you gonna do, huh?" Just saying disrespectful things. And
Yep.
Robert,
Yep.
he doesn't get up and move. He doesn't giggle. He doesn't throw stuff around like he used to. But what happens is some of these people, they leave the museum, and not too long after disrespect to Robert, disaster happens in their life. We're talking people losing their jobs, jobs that they were good at, jobs that they were great at. We're talking people getting a divorce. They are very, very happily married. All of a sudden, they're getting marital problems. And you know what? Their wives or their husbands end up divorcing them and leaving them. Some weird stuff like that's happening. We're talking car crashes. People getting into car crashes and getting some very serious injuries, broken arms, broken limbs. I think one guy reported, he ended up getting partly paralyzed. And a series of disasters continued in their life until they wrote a letter to Robert Dahl, sent it to the museum. The museum staff presented it to the Robert Dahl, and the thing stopped happening. Thoughts?
Well, it sounds like you can go investigate this by yourself. It sounds like you're a pretty big, tough guy. You're going to walk up there and you're going to trash talk the hell out of this kid. And then you are probably, hopefully, not going to get in a car crash. But I think you and Haley can investigate this one by yourselves.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't want a divorce. I
I,
love my wife too much.
I think we'll wrap up the episode with this, but if any of you are so inclined to go visit Robert Dahl, he is at the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. If you do go, I don't know, man. Be careful what you say to him. You might not like the results, but usually a lot of guests that do go, they're usually very kind and respectful to Robert. Some of them bring some candy or things like offerings and things to him. You can take
Again,
pictures
I
of
don't
Robert. However, people have reported when you ask Robert permission to take pictures, camera works just fine, things like that. When you try to take pictures of Robert without asking him for permission, iPhones, Androids, professional cameras, they all of a sudden stop working. They're just not able to take the picture. Now, when you leave the museum, they start working again. But when you go back into the museum and again you try to snap some shots of him without having asked for permission, cameras don't work, equipment doesn't work, things fail. So I have not visited Robert Dahl. I don't know if I want to visit Robert Dahl. But if any of you guys have visited Robert Dahl before, or if you plan to visit Robert Dahl, please leave some comments in the comment section. We would love to hear some of your experiences if you have felt the wrath of Robert.
Yeah, the wrath.
But yeah, I think that's all I have. Well, I know we have a ChatGPT episode though, right? Have you emailed it to me?
I emailed it to you. Do you want me to read it, or do you want? It's your episode. You read it. I emailed it to you.
Okay, let me refresh my email. I am not seeing it. Could you send it to me again?
It should say Robert
I see
story.
BTC.
Should be a Robert story.
I don't know if I want to publicly give my email right now.
No. I'm sending it to the right email. I've been sending the right email this whole time. So
okay, I'm refreshing. 8:11 p.m. 7:37 p.m. is the last two emails I got, and neither. Oh wait, let me check my spam folder.
I sent it twice.
Social folder. Don't see anything there.
Try refreshing. I just sent it again.
Okay. Priority. Let me just go to my regular inbox. Folders. Yeah, I don't know why I'm not seeing it. Okay. Well,
Here, I sent
I
it a
hate to
third
make,
time.
I hate to make you speak, but unless I if I'm not able to find it, you're probably gonna have to read it for us, brother.
All right, well, I'm ready. If you don't
Okay.
find it,
Yeah, I'm not finding it. Let me see spam.
yeah, check your spam one last time.
Mm.
Mm.
It's not. It's not over here. So, alrighty. I
All
don't
right,
know. I don't know why I'm not getting it, but okay. Well, you
here we
got it,
go.
bro. ChatGPT story of us
All right.
encountering Robert the doll.
Now, in the future, we will have Beyond the Campfire blankets. But just imagine you got to be on the campfire blanket, pull it around yourself, snuggle up. We got a scary tale of Beyond the Campfire, Robert the Doll. The humid Key West air clung to Will and Stephen as they stood outside the Old East Martello Museum. The dim glow of the streetlights barely reached the edges of the building, casting a long, eerie shadows over the brick walls. The sea breeze carried the scent of salt and decay, mixing with something else, something old, something wrong. Will adjusted his hat and glanced at Stephen. So let me get this straight. We drove all the way down to the southern tip of Florida to talk to a haunted doll. Stephen checked his camera, making sure the settings were ready for low light. Not just any haunted doll, Robert the doll. People say he's cursed. If you don't show him proper respect, bad things happen. Car crashes, sickness, nightmares, even death. Will scoffed. Sounds like a bunch of hooey. Stephen shot him a warning look. Don't mess around, man. The museum has hundreds of letters from people begging Robert forgiveness after disrespecting him. Will shrugged. Still just a doll. Stephen sighed. Come on, let's get inside. They pushed through the heavy wooden doors, stepping into the dimly lit museum. The air inside was thick, the kind of stillness that made the hairs on the back of Stephen's neck stand up. A small, elderly woman at the front desk barely looked up from her book as they entered. You here for Robert? Stephen nodded. We're doing a podcast episode on him. Figured we'd see him for ourselves. The woman glanced at Will, her expression unreadable. Be respectful. Will smirked but said nothing. She motioned down the hallway. He's waiting. The sound of their footsteps echoed as they walked through the empty museum, past glass cases of old artifacts, rusted weapons, and sepia-toned photographs. The further they went, the heavier the air felt. Then they saw him. Robert the doll sat inside a glass case illuminated by a single light. His faded sailor suit was stained with age, his little black button eyes staring blankly forward. His painted face was cracked and worn, a sinister smile barely visible beneath the years of wear. But it was his presence that made the room feel wrong. Stephen felt it immediately, an oppressive weight, like someone was watching them. Will tilted his head, studying the doll. So this is him, huh? Looks like an old toy somebody left in an attic too long. Stephen shot him a warning glare. Dude, don't. Will ignored him and leaned in slightly. Bet you ain't half as scary as people say. The lights overhead flickered. Stephen tensed. Will, seriously? Will chuckled. What? He gonna curse me for not being scared? A soft thud echoed in the room. Stephen whipped around. The museum was empty, and nothing had fallen. Nothing had moved. Will straightened his smirk, faltering. Will straightened his smirk, faltering. Did you hear that? Before Stephen could answer, a sharp scratching noise scraped against the glass case. Both men froze. Robert hadn't moved, but the sound was real. Stephen swallowed hard and lifted his camera, hands shaking slightly. He cleared his throat. Robert, we mean no disrespect. We just wanted to learn about you. Silence. Then a whisper. Barely audible, like a breath against the back of their necks. Leave. Stephen spun, but there was no one there. Will took a slow step back, his bravado slipping. Okay, that was weird. The lights flicker again. Stephen grabs Will's arm. We need to go. Will nodded quickly. They turned towards the exit. A loud bang rang through the museum. The glass case. A large, fresh crack had split across its surface. Robert hadn't moved, but something about his expression seemed different. like the faintest trace of a smirk had grown ever so slightly wider. Stephen didn't wait to find out more. He grabbed Will's sleeve and all but dragged him towards the entrance. They bolted down the hallway, past the silent exhibits, past the front desk. The old woman was gone. The museum was empty. They burst outside into the warm night air, panting. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Will let out a shaky laugh. Okay, maybe he is a little scary. Stephen shot him a glare. A little? Dude, we're lucky we got out of there. Will rubbed his arm, suddenly feeling a chill despite the Florida heat. So, now what? Stephen sighed, glancing back at the dark museum. Now, we send Robert a letter, just to be safe. Will blinked. A letter? Stephen nodded, apologizing. Will hesitated. Then, after a moment, he grumbled. Fine, but you're writing it. Stephen shook his head as they climbed to the van. He pulled out his phone to check the time. The screen was black. Dead. We'll try the ignition. The van didn't start. Stephen swallowed. Okay, that's not great. Will exhaled slowly. I'm starting to think messing with haunted stuff ain't a great idea. Stephen didn't argue. Somewhere behind them in the dark museum, Robert the doll sat in his glass case, waiting and smiling.
It. Oh, dude, I was getting creeped out listening to that. Like, oh,
What's funny is that I read the wrong one because I asked it to be more spooky, and that was the spooky one, but there was a way darker, spookier one.
yeah. Okay, we might have to do that. We might have to do that one for the Patreon.
Yeah, that one. Oof. I'll read it to you after this episode and let you hear it.
Okay.
But yeah, guys, that was Robert the Doll.
If you want more Robert the Doll content, we have unreleased footage from our first attempt, but also I think we'll tack on Will, you reading a spookier version of that onto that Patreon episode as well or something like that. So okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, like we said, folks, make sure to follow us on Instagram and our Twitter at Beyond Campfire. On there, you can find our links to our Patreon, where you can subscribe for $1, where you just support us. $3, you get beyond the scenes, where you get behind the scenes footage and you get bonus episodes like with Robert the Doll and the story to come out. And yeah, I don't got anything else. What about you, Steve?
That's all I have. We are all on all the social media. So if you don't follow us already, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Beyond Campfire Podcast or at Beyond Campfire. So just be on a lookout for our social media if you like our episodes and our content. So,
Alrighty. Well, y'all be safe out there and don't piss off the doll.